Hello, everyone. Good morning. Hope you're enjoying North Africa dreaming so far. So today I'll be talking about Industry Cloud Starter Pack. This is not a new type of Salesforce license, but this is just like your starter pack to understand what is Salesforce Industries, what are the different industry clouds. So hope you guys are ready to learn. There's a QR code on the slide if you want to download the slides so you have them offline. I'll also have it at the end of the presentation. Okay, so let me introduce myself. My name is Georgii Saveliev. I am the founder and a certified technical architect at Stratus Carta. We're a boutique consultancy that does communications cloud, performance testing, org assessments, all of that kind of stuff. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for about 8 years and 15 years in IT, and then with communications cloud specifically for about 5 years. I'm a Salesforce CTA, and I have 40 certificates. I'm kind of a certification junkie, and I co-lead the Dubai Architect user group. Okay, so before we talk about Salesforce Industries, let's talk about what is Salesforce to kind of ground ourselves. When you hear the word Salesforce, what do you think of? For me, I think of sales, service, and the platform. I mean, there's a lot more to Salesforce, but these are the three core things that I think about. And then if we try and break these things down, what actually is Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, and the platform? If we think about Sales Cloud, like the things that come to mind for me are the different functional modules within Sales Cloud. We have like account and contact management, opportunity management, reports and dashboards, and then it's all built on the Salesforce platform. If we look at Service Cloud, again, a bunch of different modules that make up Service Cloud. There's case management, knowledge management, omni-channel routing, and the Salesforce platform. So maybe you're starting to see a bit of a pattern here that we have these different functional modules, and it's all built on top of the Salesforce platform. So let's try and diagram that in a bit of a different way. So I think you've all had cake before, and you've probably seen these layer cakes where it's like different layers of cake, and then each layer is a different flavor. Let's try and kind of do that and break Salesforce down into these different layers. So the first layer is the Salesforce platform. We saw Sales and Service Cloud both are built on the Salesforce platform. We get all of the capabilities around reports and dashboards, creating custom objects, all of that stuff that we all know and love. Then we have Flow. So Flow has been around for like a long time, but I feel like in the past 2-3 years, it's getting more and more bigger. This is a way to build guided processes for your users, especially with screen flows. Then we have the data model. So the data model is kind of the heart and core of both Sales and Service Cloud. If we think of Sales Cloud, it's all around the opportunity, leads, that sort of thing. If we think about Service Cloud, it's all around cases, all of that. Then we have these different functional modules. So this is things like opportunity management, omni-channel case routing. This is kind of on top of the data model, on top of the platform, what actual functionalities you get within Sales and Service. And then we have the different add-on products. So these are products that go on top of Sales and Service. They're not in Sales and Service out of box, but you can buy them as an add-on license, and they give you a bunch of additional functionality. So now let's talk about Salesforce Industries. So Sales and Service Cloud are horizontal products. They're meant for like any industry. It will generally fit the overall sales and service process for any industry, but it doesn't have that specific industry vertical details to it. So if you're thinking about the, healthcare industry, you have a bunch of different regulations that are important. Patients are at the center of everything. That would probably impact all of these things. It would impact the data model. There are probably different functional modules that would be applicable in that industry and that sort of thing. So when we talk about verticals refer to different industries. So here we have a bunch of the icons here for all of the different industries, and as you can probably guess, these mainly correspond to a different industry cloud. So let me ask you guys a question. Maybe you'll be able to guess based on this, but how many industry clouds do you think there are? Any guesses? 12? 14? Okay. So let's see what the answer is in just a bit. So here are the different Salesforce industries. We'll go in alphabetical order here. There's automotive, communications, consumer goods, education, energy and utilities, financial services, government. Government is kind of a special one. We'll talk about that later. Health and life science, manufacturing, media, net zero, There's also kind of an industry called travel and hospitality, but it's special. We'll talk about that. Nonprofit, public sector, and Web3 or NFT. So if you go to architects.salesforce.com, there are these great templates and diagrams. Like this is one of the diagrams for, I think it's the Education Cloud. There's just a lot going on here, so I wanted to kind of simplify this diagram so it's easier to understand, and we'll break it down into that layer cake like what we did with Sales and Service Cloud. So the general layout of all of the industry clouds, they kind of follow the same pattern. So at the very bottom, we have the Salesforce platform, and majority of the industry clouds also have a managed package or multiple managed packages that make up the industry clouds. Some of the newer industry clouds, or just generally a lot of the industry clouds, are moving into retiring the managed package and moving everything into core. So all of the business logic, all of the data model objects, everything will be in core. So I think probably if I give this presentation 2 or 3 years from now, we'll probably get rid of the managed package and everything will just be in the core platform. Another core thing is Omni Studio. Has anyone worked with Omni Studio before? Okay, a lot of people. So if you haven't worked with Omni Studio, think of it as like very high level, just a more powerful version of Flow, and you have a lot of declarative tools that help you build low or no code solutions, much more that's offered in the Salesforce core platform. Then we have the industry data model. So this piece is super important. In all of the industry clouds, there are some kind of data model extensions. So if you think in the communications industry, we would want to keep track of what are the services that the customer has, what are the locations those services are at, how are they paying for them, you know, what are the billing accounts. There are a bunch of different extensions for all of the different industries. And this one seems like a super easy thing because how hard is it to create custom objects? But if you think about, you know, these industry data models have been created by people that have been working in these industries for like 20 years. So they already know what all is going on there. They've designed these in different systems before, so they kind of know the pros and cons of different approaches. So that piece is easy to kind of discount, but I think it's super important. Then we have the different functional modules. So these will really differ based on different industries. If we think about like healthcare, you can think of kind of healthcare specific use cases that these would provide. And then similarly, we have add-ons and integrations with other Salesforce products. So these are things that don't come in that industry cloud out of box, but integrate nicely with that industry cloud. So first we'll start off with communications, media, and energy. So I picked this for 2 reasons. One, because I've worked in Comms Cloud for the past 5 years, and it's the best industry cloud. And 2, these 3 industry clouds are very similar. The reason for that is because back in the Siebel days, so some history, I joined a company called Velocity, which was founded by David Schmeier. He used to work in Siebel as a, I think, SVP or GM or something like that, where Siebel's strategy was to build these different industry clouds. So David Schmeier came to Velocity, founded Velocity, brought that idea into Salesforce, and then Salesforce acquired Velocity in 2020, and David Schmeier is now the Chief Product Officer. So for communications, media, and energy, back in the Siebel days, these were all kind of one vertical, and that has continued on in Salesforce now. So the reason for that is if you think about communications, media, and energy, so communications is telco, you know, the cell phone that you're using, the internet that you have at home. Media is things like Netflix, any kind of, I don't know, newspaper subscriptions, things like that, you know, services of media that you would consume. And then energy and utilities is like electricity, gas, that sort of thing. All of these things, the fundamental product that they sell is some kind of service. So it's, you know, your telco service, your energy service, your subscription to Netflix. These are intangible services. You know, maybe they also sell some physical goods along with it, but the core thing that they're selling is a service. Because of that, there's a lot of overlap between these industries. And because of that, they all use the same managed package in Salesforce. So what makes up communications, media, and energy, or CME for short? So we have sales, service, and the platform. All of these different industry clouds are built on top of sales, service, and platform. For communications, you have to pick, do you want your base to be either Sales or Service Cloud? So that's important. You can also do Sales plus Service, but generally you'll be able to access all of those functionalities. Then we have Omni Studio. So Omni Studio, you can think of it conceptually as a more powerful version of Flow, and there are 4 main components to Omni Studio. So there is Omni Scripts. This is for building guided processes. The closest equivalent for Flow is a screen flow. So you can think of, if you're a telco customer, you would want to select what is the mobile device you want, what kind of service do you want? Do you want to buy any add-ons like Netflix, whatever? Where do you want it delivered? How will you pay for it? You can do that whole process in an Omni script. Then we have flex cards. So flex cards are meant for building drag and drop UIs. So these are things like, we can fetch your bills from the billing system and then display them inside of the Lightning Experience or inside of Experience Cloud for our users, even though that information sits in another system, and you can do that purely declaratively with flex cards and the backend components. So those 2 things, OmniScripts and Flex Cards, that is the front-end piece of it, and then the back-end piece of it is data raptors and integration procedures. So data raptors is basically a declarative version of SOQL or DML, so you can fetch data, manipulate data, like convert JSON to XML, and then also write data into Salesforce. Then we have integration procedures. The closest equivalent is auto-launched flows. So this is a way of building business logic declaratively instead of doing it in Apex. And then all of this stuff integrates together. So a common use case could be you have your Omni script for that guided telco sales journey. You have some flex cards inside of that Omni script to present the data nicely. All of that is driven by integration procedures to actually fetch that data, process it, and then the data raptors are actually retrieving and updating data through that process. So all of this plays nicely together. So then the tricky part is Omni Studio is in most, but not all of the industry clouds. So in this diagram, we can see that all of the clouds here with the darker green checkbox, this is where Omni Studio is included. And the important thing is that in these dark green ones, it's included and unlimited usage. And these lighter green ones here, so automotive, manufacturing, education, net zero, it's included, but you get like a base allocation, and then you have to buy add-on licenses depending on your usage. So just keep in mind that there's licensing difference. Talk to your Salesforce AE to understand what that means for you. And then as of now, in consumer goods, Web3, and government, well, in consumer goods and Web3, Omni Studio are not available. And then government is kind of a special case. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so the next piece is the data model. So you can't really see this, but in the communications industry, the things that we care about are kind of the sales-related objects. So it takes the opportunity, quote, and order objects that are in Salesforce, extends them with a bunch of custom fields that are useful. It uses the asset object to store customer services. There's the premise object, which is storing addresses. So there are a bunch of extensions that are either extending the out-of-box objects, adding additional objects, and connecting them all together for common communications use cases. Then we have the functional modules. So Industries CPQ is one of the biggest ones. If you've heard of Salesforce CPQ, that's another technology. Industries CPQ is formerly Velocity. Salesforce CPQ is formerly Steelbrick. But the general idea is the same. It's basically a way to capture opportunities, quotes, and orders. You can add different products to your cart. You'll be able to see kind of a bundle structure. You'll be able to see the pricing, whether it's something that the customer pays up front or they pay on a monthly basis. And so this module helps you capture orders, ultimately. And then there are a bunch of other modules that are included here. We also have some integrations with other products and add-ons as well. So in the B2B side, there's something called Enterprise B2B Self-Service Portal, which is basically an Experience Cloud site template with some out-of-box components like flex cards and stuffs that you can use as kind of a basis for building your Experience Cloud experience for your B2B customers. So I tried to take that diagram and then break it out into different components here. So And I did this for each cloud. So comms, media, energy are all very similar. The biggest difference between them will be kind of this layer here of some of the functional modules. So here we have the Salesforce platform and Velocity CMT package. CMT stands for Communications, Media, and Technology, but it's used for energy as well. We have Omni Studio. We have the CME data model. We have Industry CPQ, which I just mentioned, that uses Enterprise Product Catalog as kind of the design time view where you configure those products as a product administrator. We have Digital Commerce, which is used for, it's kind of like CPQ, but for direct interactions with your customers. We have Industries Order Management. So this is once you capture an order in CPQ to actually be able to fulfill that, to start billing the customer for it, to provision it, etc. Contract Lifecycle Management to deal with all of the contracts you have with your customers. And then there's a business application called Enterprise Sales Management for B2B and Multiplay Subscription Management for B2C. So you can think of these as like accelerators. So if you're doing a B2B implementation, you start with Enterprise Sales Management, configure it and customize it based on your needs. And then there are some integrations with different products and add-ons as well. So there's the B2B and B2C portals using Experience Cloud. There are some CRM analytics templates that are aware of the data model and help you build reports faster. And then Einstein Discovery templates, similarly aware of the data model that help you leverage Einstein Discovery. So if we look at Media Cloud, it's very similar. The difference here is the business applications change. So instead of enterprise sales management, we have advertising sales management. And then instead of multiplay subscription management, there is subscriber lifecycle management. But otherwise, same CPQ, same order management, same data model, etc. So you'll notice there's a lot of overlap between these. Then we have energy and utilities. The bottom piece of this is exactly the same. The business applications differ, so there's customer acquisition management and large account sales management. So again, accelerators to suit those different use cases and a bit different integrations with other Salesforce products. The next one is public sector solutions, and I did them in the sequence because I would say that this is sequenced from like most complicated and most features in comms, media, energy, going to least complicated and least amount of features. So if you love complexity, start with CME. If you don't like complexity, start with kind of the later topics. So public sector solutions, the idea behind this cloud is that for public sector entities, like if you're, doing visas or applying for a business permit or, applying for a permit to like construct something, public sector solutions is an industry cloud for exactly that. So we have the Salesforce platform. This used to be Velocity Public Sector, but they've retired that and it's moved into Core. So now all of the like objects and everything are in Salesforce Core. There's Omni Studio, there's the public sector data model, and then you'll be able to see based on the functional modules what are the use cases this is solving. So we have benefit management, case proceedings, constituent service toolkit, provider management, grant making, document management, applications and approvals, licensing and permitting, inspections and assessments, program and case management. So you can see that this is basically everything a public sector entity would need to serve their customers who are citizens. Then we have Health Cloud. So Health Cloud is very complicated because there's the Salesforce platform, there's the Health Managed Package, and then a bunch of different additional managed packages. And you can see here on the right-hand side, this industry actually has some sub-verticals as well. So there's medtech, payer, pharma and life sciences, provider, and insurance. So within this vertical, there are kind of sub-verticals that each by themselves could probably be a separate industry cloud. And then the biggest difference here is, so we have Omni Studio. I believe this is usage-based, so keep that in mind. There's the health data model, and then a bunch of different functional modules, care management, electronic health records, appointment management, provider network management, utilization management, and then kind of pre-built apps for different use cases. So there's Health Cloud for life sciences and Health Cloud for insurance. So Velocity Insurance is now Health Cloud for insurance. Next up is Financial Service Cloud. So this is the one that I probably hear the most about, just from seeing blog posts and articles and stuff like that. The main use case here is for a financial institution like a bank, something like that. They would be able to use this to run their business. So we start off with the Salesforce platform and the FSC managed package. Omni Studio is now included. There's the FSC data model. It's been partially migrated to core. I'm assuming that will be completed within the next few releases. And then a bunch of different functional modules. And similar to Health Cloud, there are a bunch of sub-verticals here as well. So there's retail banking, wealth management, insurance, mortgage, and commercial banking. And then if we look at the functional modules, we can see kind of what are the business use cases that it's solving. There's branch management, compliant data sharing, document checklist, financial account details, financial deal management, know your customer or KYC, need-based referrals and scoring, service processes for MSC, and tear sheet generation. Next up, we have Nonprofit Cloud, and you can see that it's missing the top layer, so we're starting to get less complex as we go on. Nonprofit Cloud is now in core. NPSP has been retired and it's been moved to core. It has Omni Studio, there's nonprofit data model, and then a few functional modules. So case management documentation, program management, care plans, case referrals, complaints, benefit schedules and participants, and benefit dispersal tracking. Next up, we have Automotive Cloud. So this is for automotive companies that are, selling cars, called car dealerships, that sort of thing. We have the Salesforce platform. The data model is within the core platform. There's Omni Studio. We have the automotive data model in standard objects, and then a bunch of functional modules. So we can see things like appointment schedule, test drive appointments, vehicle inventory search, vehicle service appointments. So you can see that, like, as a car dealership, these are kind of all of the functionalities that you would need for running your business. And Manufacturing Cloud, so this is for manufacturing companies. If you're building some kind of widgets, equipment, computers, that sort of thing, you could use Manufacturing Cloud. So we start off with the Salesforce platform. The data model is in core. We have Omni Studio, the manufacturing data model, and then the functional modules. So we have sales agreements, business forecast, program-based business, organizational targets, partner visits, actionable segmentation, service lifecycle, product warranties, pre-work estimates, and rebate management. Then we have Education Cloud. So Education Cloud would be for your high schools, your universities, to be able to track your different students, see what programs they're in, what courses they're taking, help them if they're struggling with low grades, that sort of thing. We have the Salesforce platform. There used to be something called EDA, which I think is, I don't remember what it stands for. I think it's like education, data, something. That was retired and it's now moved into core. We have Omni Studio, we have the Education Cloud data model, and then functional modules that are really about managing your students, managing their course programs, that sort of thing. And then there are some integrations with other Salesforce products. So there's a learner portal. So this is for your students to be able to log in, see what courses they're taking, their grades, etc. And then Scheduler for Education Cloud. So your students can talk to schedule an appointment with an advisor, and all of that can be managed directly within Salesforce. There's Net Zero Cloud. So Net Zero Cloud is really for companies to be able to track their impact on the environment. So, if we look at Salesforce has a bunch of servers, there are a bunch of employees traveling. They want to be able to track what is their carbon footprint for the data centers, for their employee travel. They want to be able to confirm to the government that they're, carbon neutral because they offset it with planting trees or whatever. That's net zero. So I think this is a little bit different than the other ones where you don't have like a net zero business, but this would be something that a lot of businesses do because they want to be net zero. So we start off with the Salesforce platform. We have Omni Studio. There's the Net Zero data model. This is in core. And then a few different kind of reporting focused modules. So the key point here is for a company to be able to input this data, track it, and then report to the government that yes, we are indeed certified net zero. And then there's another vertical that's listed on the Salesforce website called Travel and Hospitality. As far as I understand, this isn't a real industry cloud. Like, there's no managed package, there's no functional modules. It's just kind of a rebranded sales plus service plus marketing cloud. So maybe there will be a proper industry cloud for that in the future, but it's not there today. We have consumer goods or retail consumer goods. So the use case here is if you think of a company like Carrefour, the grocery store, they will have different promotions. Like, I don't know, we're selling toothpaste for €2 or something. They would want to be able to track that stores are actually, have that promotion, display it as like a banner that they're actually selling toothpaste for that €2. So it's a way of tracking those promotions, and there are other use cases here. One thing that surprised me is Consumer Goods Cloud is not meant for the sales and service process for actually selling things. So I think the use case there would be more like B2C Commerce Cloud if the company is just directly selling to consumers, and then Service Cloud for managing returns, complaints, that sort of thing. So here we have the Salesforce Platform and CG Cloud Managed Package. Omni Studio is not available here as of today. There's the consumer goods data model as part of the managed package, and then a few different functional modules. So we have retail execution, trade promotion management, an offline app. So a lot of these stores can be in places with bad reception, so a lot of the functionality is available offline. Promotion management, customer business plan, trade calendar, and funds management. So we have, next up we have Web3, or formerly NFT Cloud. I remember a few years at Dreamforce, this was all the rage, and then it kind of died off, and it got rebranded from NFT to Web3. So there honestly isn't that much information about this, so I had to do some digging to figure out what actually NFT Cloud is. It's basically the Salesforce platform plus probably a managed package, but not clear. There's no Omni Studio, there's the Web3 data model, and then based on the different functional modules you can see on the marketing page, we can kind of figure out what this is about. So it's collection monitoring, wallet risk scoring, smart contract template and deployment, NFT metadata management, general and exclusive sales contract types, and NFT management security. So I think the use cases for a company that's selling NFTs, they would be able to use this to track all of their inventory and all of that. And then Government Cloud. So Government Cloud is kind of the weird one, where this isn't actually an industry cloud in itself. This is only for U.S. customers, and as far as I understand, the added value is that you can buy one or multiple of these different industry clouds, and then they will give you U.S. government certification on top of it. So if you are like a U.S. government body doing public sector, you'll need to prove to the government that your data is secure, it's stored in the U.S., your support team is in the U.S. This is kind of an extension on top of the data clouds for U.S. government. So this can include one or multiple of these things: public sector, nonprofit, health, education, energy and utilities, manufacturing, financial service, and net zero. So that is all of the clouds. We saw 13 or 14 clouds, depending on if you count Government Cloud or not. I know there is a lot of content, but I have a QR code with a slide if you want to download those and check those offline. And then just really quick, we'll finalize on enablement and resources. So in terms of Omni Studio, there's some good content on Trailhead. There are 2 certifications. There's Omni Studio Consultant and Developer, and then there's a series that me and some of my colleagues did at Salesforce on Omni Studio. So if you want to get hands-on, understand the components, play around with it, check out the series. And then for the industry clouds, there are a bunch of certifications and accredited professionals. So from the certifications, there's Energy Cloud and Nonprofit Cloud certifications, and then APs for almost everything else. What's missing from the APs is automotive, manufacturing, Web3 or NFT, and government. And then some additional enablement. So if you scan the QR code, you can download this and check it out offline. There's some content on Trailhead. The accredited professionals are only on Partner Learning Camp, so this is only available for Salesforce partners and employees, but there's a lot of good content there. The Salesforce help docs are pretty good, but pretty dry, to be honest, so I would start with the other ones first. And then I have a few links to some community content there as well. So I'll leave this up with a QR code for just a minute or two, and I'm at time, but is there a quick question from anyone?
When the managed packages go into core, what happens then? Do the new objects, do they transfer the data across for you, or do they just live with the namespaces they used to have?
Well, for new customers, it's pretty straightforward. You just don't install the managed package and you use the new objects. For legacy customers, I think what it means is that you then need to do a data migration from all of the managed objects to the standard objects, which honestly can be a huge, huge scope of work, potentially even like 6 months or more. But yeah, it is what it is, right? Good question. Usually the data model will be like one-to-one. So like in Communications Cloud, this hasn't happened yet, but it will happen soon. There's like an object called premise. It's like velocity_CMT premise. I'm assuming when that gets moved to the standard data model, it will just be called premise. And it will have exactly the same fields. So the mapping will be easy. It generally will be one-to-one, but maybe there are some exceptions to that.
Yes, it seems that Omni Studio will be a standard tool that Salesforce will use. Or maybe Salesforce will try to invest on the flows to look like the Omni Studio. I don't know what is the approach.
Yeah, so basically the question is like, will Omni Studio keep developing? Will Flow kill Omni Studio? What's happening? There was a great session at Dreamforce called True to the Core. You can watch it on Salesforce Plus for free. David Schmeier, the Chief Product Officer and former Velocity CEO, someone asked him, like, what's happening with Omni Studio? And his response was, Omni Studio was moved to the Flow team in Core, and I don't think it was getting much love. He decided to move it back to the Industries team, so like the former Velocity team that built it and maintained it, they're now owning it going forward. So he said in the short term, Omni Studio will continue to be developed, enhanced, etc. In the long term, there will be some kind of merge between Flow and Omni Studio. My personal guess is that means that they'll release Flow 2.0, which will basically be like 80% Omni Studio, 20% Flow, and they'll just call it Flow. So like, spiritually, Omni Studio will continue, even though technically they'll kill it. But that's just my guess, safe harbor. I have no insider information on that.
We already started doing this, for instance, with omnichannel flow. The new one is based on the flow, but it has the routing things related to omnichannel. Probably the same thing called
Yeah, I mean, my feeling is like the kind of deeper question is it worth spending your time learning Omni Studio? In my opinion, yes, because even if they kill Omni Studio and release Flow 2.0, probably 80% of the like idea, design, best practices, etc., will translate. So I think a lot of the skill will be transferable even if they do kill it in a few years. So I think that's all we had time for. Hopefully that was useful and you kind of understand what is Industry Cloud, what are they built of, what are the different industry clouds. If you haven't gone into this space, I really recommend it. I kind of fell in love with Industry Cloud 5 years ago and I'm exclusively doing it and I'm going to exclusively do it for the next year or two, if not longer. So definitely check this out if you haven't. It's awesome space. And feel free to message me on LinkedIn or chat with me later on today if you have any more questions. Thanks, everyone.